without further ado, let me introduce our guest speaker here, Robert Hurt. He actually doesn't need much of an introduction. You know, everyone knows him as a congressman for the 5th District, and I'm sure many of you are going to have lots of questions for him. What you may not know is that the 5th District is also called the Route 29 District. It runs from Route 66 all the way down to the Carolina border, right along Route 29. So Robert, without further ado,
thanks, buddy.
Thank you for being here.
Buddy, thank you so much for that introduction. And Mike and Buddy, thank you all so much for making the huge commitment. And Sue, where's Sue? And I don't know, Sue, thank you. And do you have a
Jan? She could be
here. Well, many thanks to both of your spouses for giving you permission to do this. I know Kathy knows very much what it's like, and it is a team effort. And God bless all 4 of you for jumping in. As Buddy and I were saying, or were just talking when I came in to begin with, when I first got here, you know, it's a lot of hard work. We all know that it's a lot of hard work, and it couldn't be done without everyone in this room. But it also, at the same time, is something it's got some very, very enjoyable aspects of it. And getting out and seeing folks across this great city is something that really does, anybody who has been involved in the process knows that there's a very satisfying part of that. As you get to know your fellow citizens, you get to hear from them, you learn from them, and then you do your best once you're elected to be true to what's in the best interest of the people you represent, and obviously in the best and is a true expression of the people that you represent. I wanted to just recognize a couple of folks before I got started. Obviously, we have another big election coming up, and that's Rodney Thomas and Dwayne Snow will be on the ballot. I know there are, of course, some other supervisor seats. We have a real opportunity in the county to get the magic number, and we need to do that. We need to do that. And Rodney, thank you for your service. Also, I don't know, does anybody here watch Sean Hannity?
Who's Sean Hannity?
Let me tell you, last night I was flipping through the Nationals. I watch the Nationals every once in a while, and I tell you, they got hammered by Miami. But it was depressing to watch the Nationals get hammered. But I tell you what made me really, really proud was to turn on Hannity. I don't know if you saw it last night. If you haven't, you need to go back and see if you can watch it. But Liz, who is the president of the College Republicans at University of Virginia, was one of the just a handful of guests that was on sort of a town hall program among young people, and I just thought she did such a great job. And thank you for putting a good face, putting up a great face for the University of Virginia and a great face for conservatism. So thank you very much for that. You know, obviously these elections are so important, and this is the first time I've met Mike. I've known Buddy for a long time because, of course, he has been so committed to conservatism in the city of Charlottesville, and I thank you for that service. I thank you for your community service and your public service over the years, especially in the field of law. You know, lawyers, understandably and probably very deservedly, get trashed from time to time. But I tell you, having been a lawyer and practiced law in a small town, and having done indigent defense work in the past, I can tell you that it is that it is an opportunity for you to see our Constitution at work every single day, and so I know that background that Buddy had over the years of doing having a general practice, but also being able to see our Constitution come into contact with our court system and with those who are protected by it every single day is something that I know he will carry with him once he's elected, and it's something that we all care about. And I think if you look at a lot of the issues that we see in Washington right now, we know how important our Fourth Amendment protections are as a consequence. And so I thank you for your service. I thank you for being committed in a place that is not always hospitable to conservatives. I thank you for for leading the committee so honorably. One of the things that I point out from time to time is when I first ran against the native son of Charlottesville and Albemarle County, we were very, very proud to get 17% of the vote. We were very, very proud that we got 17% of the vote here in the city, and it was because of hard work. And what was remarkable, despite the tremendous headwinds at the top of the ticket this last go-around, we went from 17% to 24%, which was you know, again, a great thing, and I think owing again to the hard work of everyone here, and I'm grateful for that. There are some who say that if I get much north of 25%, it might be my message is off, and I might start losing more in the rest of the district. But I don't think that has to be the case. And then, of course, Mike, as I said, I probably know as much about him as I read in that great Hook article about you and about your tremendous service, again, to the city of Charlottesville. One of the jobs that I loved when I was first elected was working as an assistant Commonwealth's attorney. I worked as a prosecutor for about 4 years before I went into private practice. And there's no question that working alongside of officers who are, you know, they put that uniform on every single day, and every single day they button that top button. It's a day that they might not come back and be able to take that shirt off or take that vest off. And they do it knowingly. They do it because they love their community and they really want to protect citizens. And that is a level of public service, in addition to his work on the Planning Commission, that I think really commends him to the people of Charlottesville. And so thank you for your service, and thanks for being willing to stand up. I think we've got two great candidates. I will say that especially from the vantage of having been elected to represent the great people of Virginia's 5th District over the last 2.5 years, I will say that a citizen legislature is much to be desired. You know, we have in Washington sort of we have allowed it to become, over the last 10, 20, 30 years, there's an elite political class, elected and unelected, that governs in Washington, and that is a prescription for the ills that we now are suffering under. The fact that we have an elite political class in Washington D.C. that forgets that it's not the citizens that work for Washington. It's the other way around. It is that those who are elected, those who are public servants, are exactly that. They are public servants, and it is their responsibility to work for the people, to work for the citizens. And so I think that these city council elections are so important for that reason, as well as many. Each of these gentlemen brings a perspective to city council that Charlottesville needs, that the city council needs. And I think that as we stand in the shadow of Thomas Jefferson's home, you know, I love to say, you know, you come to Charlottesville, you would be convinced, if you didn't know otherwise, that Thomas Jefferson was still alive, that Mr. Jefferson was still living, still among us, and in every respect he is. I think he would be very, very pleased to see that in a place where, again, we feel outnumbered from time to time, but we need that additional perspective, and we need all hands on deck as we try to tackle big problems, serious problems that we at every level of government, at every level of electorate face. And so I think it's fitting for that reason as well. So I am just pleased to be able to support both of these folks here today. You know, this is the beginning of the football season, but let's be clear, this is the beginning of an election season that's going to be very, very important for the Board of Supervisors, for City Council. Our state elections are so vitally important. Listen, you know, we see reports from time to time that there is sort of a lack of enthusiasm, a lot of that among the electorate for the statewide race and the state legislative races. But let's be clear about something. This election is really important for the future of Virginia. If you think about the stands that Ken Cuccinelli, who has distinguished himself as a member of the state legislature for for a number of years. E.W. Jackson, new on the scene, but what a refreshing voice. You know, what a refreshing voice for conservatism and common sense. You look at Mark Obenshain, and again, his record in the state Senate. I had the honor of serving with Mark and Ken in the state Senate, and I can tell you, no more committed people to the rule of law, to a pro-growth agenda, and no two people that I know who I serve in the legislature who are willing to do what's right for the people, even if it's not always the popular thing to do. And I think that we need them very badly. If you think about the important issues facing Virginia right now, obviously continuing to create jobs is vitally important. And I can tell you that, from my perspective, Terry McAuliffe is not the answer if you want a pro-growth agenda. He is not the answer. So to those who might say to you, well, you know, I'm not so excited about this election, you know, it's negative and all this, you say, look, if you stay home, what you're going to be endorsing is, you're going to be endorsing a radical environmental agenda, one that does not suit the Commonwealth, one that is not is not the reason the Commonwealth is the best place in the United States to do business. If you stay home, if you sit on the couch for this next election, then what you're really implicitly doing is you're endorsing a radical pro-labor agenda. You know, Virginia is the northernmost right-to-work state on the eastern seaboard. That is a tremendous advantage for Virginia. If you want to see somebody who will be for the labor unions, then stay at home and let Terry McAuliffe get elected. These elections are so vitally important for Virginia to maintain its, again, a pro-growth agenda, one that's committed to the rule of law, one that's committed to jobs across the board, sound fiscal management. These are all things that are at stake in this election, as they are in the local city elections, local county elections. So we have really got to spread the word, and we need to spread it with enthusiasm. Right, Clarabelle?
Absolutely.
We've got to be enthusiastic. That's what we've got to do, is be enthusiastic as we head into these elections. Let me just, and it sounds like maybe you'd like to do some questions. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll just give you a little bit of an update on what has been sort of in the news a lot lately. Has been the proposal by the president to go into Syria. I have very, very grave concerns about that. Obviously, we all mourn and grieve the idea that you have innocent people being slaughtered by the Syrian government, and the idea that there have been innocent children who have been killed in the chemical weapons attack. Absolutely horrific. Horrific. But I do think this: the president has an absolute responsibility to inform Congress and to inform the American people as to what exactly our American, compelling American national security interest is. That's his responsibility as a leader of our country, as our commander-in-chief, before we commit the first resource to that civil war, which seems to me very, very certainly most complex. He has to make a strong case, a compelling case for our American national security interest. At this point, I have not seen it. I have not seen it. Likewise, even if he is able to make a compelling national security interest out, it strikes me that he must be able to show what our goal is, how we achieve it, and at the end of the day, how do we know that we have achieved it and can get out when on our terms, not someone else's. And he hasn't, in my humble opinion, done that yet. I have said that I feel out of under my obligation as a member of Congress, representing 730,000 people, that I have the responsibility to go to Washington and to listen to the classified briefings, and I will do that in the next couple of days, and give the president that benefit. I think it's my responsibility, and constitutionally, to give him that respect. But at the same time, I can tell you, I have grave concerns, and at this point, I don't see a compelling interest or an achievable goal at hand. So, with that, again, we've got, what is it? We've got 2 months, we got 60 days, 55 days to get out and to work for Mike and for Buddy. Let's leave here today really rallying around the Wahoos, and then also, of course, rallying around our two great candidates as they march to victory, and look forward to talking to you on election night and congratulating you on a great race run. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Robert, we talked about this at the mall last week. There are a lot of people, a lot of Republicans who have some pretty grave concerns about the extent of warrantless spying that is happening with the NSA. And I think that there were some people who were a little upset about your vote on the cutoff. You did have, when we talked about it, I was impressed with the thoughtfulness of your reasoning, even though that I think that, cutting off the funds might not be a bad idea.
Sure.
Could you talk a little bit
Yeah,
just about
thank you for asking that question.
why you made the vote you did and where you see going forward?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and thank you for the question. So, what and things have changed a lot since that vote on the Amash amendment. But just to give people background on it who may not have followed it as closely, the NS, I look at my job in Washington. I take it very seriously. Obviously, I believe one of the #1 responsibilities I have under the Constitution is to provide for the national defense. I mean, that's an Article 1 power that is our responsibility. So I take that very, very seriously. I don't think that it is a coincidence that we have not had a large-scale attack on our soil since September 11, 2001. I think it's owing to the tremendous work and sacrifice of many, many people in our defense and in our intelligence agencies. And that's something that has made us all safer. It means that our children were able to go back to school in peace. They're able to play their soccer games in peace. They're able to sleep in their beds in peace here on this soil, knowing that over the last decade or so, we have taken the fight to them. And I think that that's really, really important to keep in mind, and something that is in the forefront of mind all the time. What we heard was, as the program was revealed in a way that, we may have some disagreement here, but I'm just going to say it the way I think it is. I mean, Snowden's he's not a hero. In my opinion, he's a traitor. And I think I need to say that up front. We may have a disagreement about that, but there are ways that he could have done express his concerns in a way that would have been completely lawful, and I think would have gotten us into what is a very important inquiry. So don't get me wrong, it appears at this point we wouldn't have known about the program but for him, and that's a good thing, but what he did was wrong. So the question then becomes, was the collection of this information, this metadata, from third-party providers. I mean, and remember, these are not, it would be quite different if you, every time you made a phone call, wrote down the number that you were calling and the time and the date, and then put it in among your papers in your house. That's one thing. What we have here is our third-party providers who collect these records for billing and so forth like that. The way I understood the program, and still understand the program, is that basically the metadata that was collected was, again, numbers called, numbers where it originated, duration, and the time of the call. That's it. No identifying information. Not like you might even have in a phone book, right? No identifying information. No content whatsoever. And the way, again, it was described to me is, for example, the way it would be used is if a person was, a known terrorist was apprehended, let's say in the field in Afghanistan, they would get the terrorist's phone, and then they would be able to download that information and compare it against those 4 columns of information. Again, no identifying information. In the event that there was a hit on that information, then and only then is the government allowed to petition, much in the same way that a law enforcement agency gets a warrant up here at the Charlottesville City Magistrate or the Albemarle County Magistrate. You have to show probable cause. They had to show probable cause. Now, they had to show it to the FISA court, which is not a public institution by any means, for understandable reasons. But they would have to meet that Fourth Amendment burden, that probable cause burden, before they could ever get past that Excel spreadsheet, so to speak. So the question for me in evaluating the program, and so Congressman Amash introduced an amendment that would just totally have defunded the entire program. And I respect that. And I certainly understand and have grave concerns about the way the program is being conducted. But what that would have done is turn the lights off. It would turn the light switch off and said, we're not doing this anymore. I went to several briefings and educated myself along with my staff as much as I could. And what I concluded was the program needs definitely oversight and it needs improvement, but it was not unconstitutional based on my analysis of it. That it was in fact constitutional. I can guarantee you I would never support anything that I concluded was an unconstitutional program. I would not have supported it. So I concluded that, and I also concluded that it definitely needs stringent oversight, and it needs, I think also from my standpoint, the thing that if you go to a magistrate and get a search warrant to go and invade someone's privacy, invade their home, the most important private space in their life. If you get a search warrant to do that, after it is executed, it has to be filed with the court. I can't remember, 7 days or 10 days. It has to be filed with the court. So any one of us, anybody in the media, can go to the courthouse. After it's filed, they can review for themselves what the application was. And the application is not simple. I mean, it is a very particularized requirement facts that have to be set forth before you can ever get the warrant. And so you're able to look at what was proposed, what the decision was based on, when the warrant was executed, and you're also able to see at the end of the day what was taken. Well, that, I think, fosters accountability and transparency. 2 things that don't exist in the FISA program, and 2 things that I think we've got to really work toward. And I believe that Chairman Goodlatte on the Judiciary Committee feels very strongly, as I do, that we need to infuse transparency and accountability in this program so that people have confidence that our rights are not being violated, and that this FISA court is not a rubber stamp of a court. In addition, we now see since that time that there have been some tremendous abuses, some very concerning abuses, and that everything that was said to us as Congress prior to that vote may not exactly have added up. And we need to get to the bottom of that. And so I hope that people who are either just outright oppose my vote, which I understand, or have concerns about it, understand that when I cast my vote, it was for the up or down, in or out. You know, I believe that the program has saved American lives based on what I was able to learn, and so it didn't seem to me to be prudent just to shut the lights off on it. But make no mistake, it needs to be fixed. There's no question about it.
Does it concern you? How much does it concern you that in the communications between the administration and Congress on some of these things, like for instance, the amount of metadata the president saying nobody's listening to your phone conversations, when the reality is that there's even a term for NSA analysts listening in on their girlfriend's phone calls. I mean, it happens often enough. Does it concern to you that, frankly, and there's, pardon my French, but there's no other way of saying it, that this administration has been essentially lying its ass off about
Well,
the actual.
Yeah, let me say two things. Number one, the direct answer to your question is, number one, I continue to be very concerned about these abuses that have come out, the Wall Street Journal published. I am very concerned about that. That is not consistent with what we were told as we ran up to it and tried to accumulate the best information possible. And understand this, I reserve the right to vote against, to vote to defund it, to eliminate it in the future if we can't get it fixed. Believe me, and understand that. And that is absolutely a possibility going forward. At that moment in time, I did not feel there was sufficient evidence to shut the lights off. Big picture, and then I'll get to Joe. The big picture is, though, this president who went to law school, went to one of the finest law schools in the country, in the world, seems to, he should have gone, maybe if he'd gone to UVA law, maybe we wouldn't maybe be in this spot, has a fundamental lack of appreciation and understanding of the separation of powers as infused into our Constitution by our founders, James Madison, who understood how important it was, and that the separation of powers is not to protect the different fiefdoms of the three branches of government. That's not the purpose of separation of powers. The purpose of the separation of powers doctrine, and how beautifully it has been infused into that document, protects each of us as individuals from the government. That's the purpose. And that gets lost and it gets forgotten, and this president, with all due respect, doesn't understand it. I don't believe he understands it, and we see examples of it every single day, it seems, where he expands his prerogatives and fails to understand the restraint that is absolutely necessary in the execution of what has really become a government that we have, the executive power has grown far in excess of anything our founders ever envisioned. I mean, you know what the fear, what the debate between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, the Patrick Henrys of that day, they were terrified that we were going to have an executive branch that suddenly resembled a monarchy. And that's something that is a big picture. Yeah, Joe.
Well, just to follow up on what Tom was asking, thanks to the work of Chris Warner, another great Central Virginian, Lisa Jackson, who we call Stonewall Jackson, former EPA chief, is going to actually have to testify on her fake email accounts and doing what you're saying the NSA was doing to you guys, which was treating you like mushrooms.
Yeah.
Will there be hearings on whoever was creating this false front for the NSA to get you to the vote? Because that seems like really what the administration does is to tap hands until a vote is cast, and then we can let all the information out. Will there be hearings on whoever did this obfuscation?
You know, I don't know. The short answer, I just don't know. But I know that having spent some time with Bob Goodlatte lately, I know he's very, very concerned about this. And I think there will absolutely be hearings. I know there will be hearings as it relates to the program in the first instance. And then I think absolutely as a part of that, there needs to be an inquiry among members and among the House side that gets to the heart of how is it that you people who said the program was one thing, how is it that you didn't know, or that you didn't know, or you did know and you didn't tell us what the abuses were within the program, and that it was not exactly as you made it out to be. And I think we'll see that. You know, one of the things that this whole Syrian issue does is it pushes stuff back. Yes. Because you know how little Congress works to begin with, so time is limited. But I can tell you, for my part, I will continue to tell our leadership and our committee chairs that we cannot be distracted by the importance of getting to the bottom of what happened in Benghazi. You're getting the bottom of what happened with the IRS, and it sounds like to me may still be happening. What happened to get to the bottom of what happened with the judiciary, the Justice Department, and what it was doing to reporters. These are all grave concerns, and I can tell you, I'm not going to forget them. And I think that there's that sense. But right now, we do have this other. We got to deal with this when we get back. But I intend to continue on that vein. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on the Syrian thing. I hear both sides of the argument,
Sure.
and I think both are legitimate. But what I'm not hearing from anybody on either side, other than doing nothing, what do we do to be productive to end this action? My fear is we're going to repeat history as we did prior to World War II. We knew the Jews were being exterminated, and nothing happened until we ourselves were personally struck. Why do we not form a massive march on the United Nations to start doing their job? They're doing nothing.
Well,
it's
and I don't
a
think.
organization.
Yeah, and with all due respect to anybody who puts too much faith in the United Nations, to me that's the problem with the United Nations in the first instance. I mean, the idea that you have Russia with a veto power when you know that these sorts of things are going on, I think it highlights the problem with the organization in the first instance. And that's why the world always looks to the United States to be the police power when
So
there's
what do
injustice.
we do instead?
I think
What do we do?
No, and I think there are a lot of things that we can continue to do. I think the first thing we can do, the first thing and the most important thing we can do, is not make it worse. And I think that if we were to go in, and again, I say this not having all the information, but at this point, from my view, going in, we run the risk of making it 100 times worse than it already is. That is by breaking it out into a regional war, one that draws in the proxies in this war in a way that I don't think that is good for America and not serving our interests. We can't be everywhere all the time. There's horrible what's going on, but we have to be very careful, I think, with respect to our constituents and the Constitution before we ever commit our resources and the lives of our servicemen and women to a conflict like this. I think our experience, and I'm not one who believes in this argument that one of the things that upsets me to hear the president say is, well, we're war weary. What does that mean? What is he saying about our United States military, the finest military on earth and that the world's ever known? I don't buy that. It's not that we're war weary, but we have learned some things in the last 10 years. And we have learned strategically what it takes to get a positive outcome that's in our American self-interest or national security interest. So I don't buy that. I think that there are diplomatic solutions, there are economic sanctions that we can impose to help reduce the bloodshed over there. But at the end of the day, as has been said, it's kind of hard to do that when you don't really know who your enemies are. And of course, what I mean by that is if we're going to say we're going to back the rebels, who are the rebels? Who are the rebels? And that's something that I think is less than clear. And that's another reason I think that militates against us rushing into the.
I understand that. I'm not
But I
thinking
think
any alternative.
Well, no, but I think, and this president is apparently not convinced by me. But again, diplomatic sanctions, economic sanctions, using our relationships with the other countries in the region to put more massive pressure on them, I think is something that's legitimate and certainly doesn't risk our military resources, and above all, our men and women who we need not be reminded. Hundreds of them have been killed in the last 10 years defending our national security interest.
Robert, I'm gonna, you can probably answer questions.
Yeah, and I'll be around.
And you'll be around if you want to talk to.
Can I just say one thing? Because it looks like you're gonna honor the folks that have provided for us, and thank you. Let me just say this real quick. You know, for Republicans, and I think Liz talked a little bit about this last night. You know, for Republicans, where we need to really be winning is places like Northern Virginia. If we're gonna continue with a pro-growth, conservative-minded agenda for Virginia, for our counties and for our cities, for our localities, we really have to be winning in these places. And it's a war of ideas. And we have the best ideas, but we have to work very hard, especially hard in places, again, like Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, where we didn't do so well in the presidential election, and right here at home. And that's a great opportunity for us. And these two candidates represent that, the arguments that we have to be having in the next 60 days. So thanks for having me, and good luck to you guys.
Thanks. I'd like to get Bashir and Kathy up here. Honor them.
Nice to meet you.
I used to frequent Bashir's when we had a little hole in the wall down at a little spot a little further down on the mall, and I just worked his way up and built this beautiful restaurant. It's places like this that make the Charlottesville downtown mall the economic, the cultural, the social heart and soul of Charlottesville. And I want to thank him. He's not normally open for breakfast. He came in and opened it up, provided us with this great food. And I want to thank both of them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just want to say something. Didn't mean to interrupt you. First, I respect your statement that you said about. I saw you on NBC 29 when they interviewed you about Syria.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I'm really impressed. And the second thing, the reason why I wanted to open today for them, though I'd rather be home asleep. I know him not only as a police officer. I know him as a small businessman. He and his brothers used to own a place called Farruggio, great Italian place that closed. And by then, I know him for a long time. So, can't be more convincing than that. If you're part of the community, you have to give back, you have to remember. So, I'm glad to contribute.